Hello and welcome to Friday First. I'm Joey Payne and today we find out where it all begins for British racing drivers.
I'm Bethan Holmes and also today, scenes of everyday life in Afghanistan. We've been down to the latest expedition to arrive in Salford.
I'm Indu Rashid. In sports, with mixed martial arts on the rise, does our reporter have what it takes? We'll be finding out.
And I'm Andy Watson. I'll be reviewing this week's new release, Black Hat.
He's on the move again.
Good afternoon and welcome to Friday First, the programme which brings you the best of Quays news and entertainment from the week. First today, it's just over a fortnight until the start of the Formula One season, with Britain's Lewis Hamilton defending the World Championship.
That's right, but just how did the BBC Sports Personality of the Year rise to the glitz and glamour of Formula One? John Mitchell went out to find where it begins for British racing drivers.
The winner is Lewis Hamilton.
It's now the life of a celebrity for the nation's favourite sportsman, but for the two-time world champion, it all began here on the modest karting tracks of Britain.
In fact, Britain is the undisputed home of motorsport. After the Second World War, the country was littered with airfields and aerospace engineers that simply lost their youth. The airfields quickly became racetracks and the engineers found a new hobby. As a result, 80 years on, F1 powerhouses such as Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren are all based here in Britain.
And here, at the Three Sisters racetrack in Wigan, the slightly less prestigious Manchester and Buxton Karting Club.
We run race meetings here every month, the fourth Sunday of every month. It's run to MSA regulation, so it's a little bit like a miniature mini Formula One. You know, and as you're probably well aware, there's a lot of big Formula One drivers all started grassroots racing at karting. Lewis Hamilton, a prime example. David Coulthard, Jensen Button, you name it. So.
For the next generation, it's clear that these many British success stories are set to inspire.
What are your ambitions with it?
Just to get into cars, hopefully.
Race cars one day. What level would you like to go with?
Formula One.
Formula One.
Yeah.
Next Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Some of the veterans of the sport, however, simply aren't convinced.
Starting up, when we started up 10 years ago, it was a different sport then. It was, wasn't the same sort of money flying around, and it was more of a hobby. And now you get into, kids who are spending 50, 60 grand a year at least trying to get to F1, and you're dealing with parents who are,
Engines alone can cost upward of £5,000, but even here, the Hamilton family are there to offer inspiration.
His parents were just as equally as committed because he was a postman and he was a delivery driver, worked somewhere else. He got 5 jobs just to fund the lads.
Besides, there's more than one reason to try and find the funds to travel the world rather than here. Better weather. Jonathan Mitchell, Quays TV News.
Now to the unseen side of Afghanistan. That's the latest exhibition at Salford's Imperial War Museum.
Hannah Smith went to meet artist George Butler, who spent 3 weeks in the country drawing scenes of everyday life.
There's a common portrayal of Afghanistan in the media as a war-torn nation after 13 years of occupation. But one illustrator hopes his art, created on trips to the country, could change this.
These drawings, I hope, represent a more common experience in Afghanistan than the ones which are quite rightly reported every day in our news, but are almost always of the sort of opium production or fighting in Helmand province or difficulties with the government. And these are purposefully a step back from that and a look in the other direction.
His new exhibition Withdraw at the Imperial War Museum focuses on an Afghanistan free from conflict after the withdrawal of British troops last year.
I spent a day drawing with the police and I spent a day drawing in a prosthetic limb clinic, but it was these ones and this, I suppose, little boy in particular that I really enjoyed doing because I felt like it was sort of Afghanistan at its most kind of natural.
George's work sits alongside the museum's various historical artefacts as a modern-day reminder of the impact of war.
IWM has been working with artists since the First World War to create art in response to conflict and global issues, to challenge our visitors to think slightly differently about how war shapes people's lives.
His trip, funded by the Pulitzer Centre, allowed him to get closer to the local community.
You're trying to capture habits and sights and sounds and smells that happen over an hour or an hour and a half. People don't find it threatening and they feel involved and they come and talk to you and they can understand how you can do it. It's not so intimidating it doesn't put up a barrier like a camera does.
Work like George's hopes to give Afghan life a fresh image, from war and destruction to peace and normality. Hannah Smith, Quays TV News.
And Inzi is with us now with all things sport. Inzi?
Yeah, well, mixed martial arts is best known through the UFC franchise and is becoming increasingly popular worldwide as fighters are streamed to more than 150 countries in 22 languages. Our very own Garona Yelavina has been to a local gym with high hopes of becoming the next UFC champion.
There's a skill to learn, like drama.
Mixed martial arts is a mixture of judo, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling.
Here at the Monkey MMA Academy, they're training the next generation of fighters hoping to break out into the UFC spotlight.
My aspiration is definitely going to the UFC and fighting at the top.
UFC is to MMA what the Super League is to rugby. Fighters like Silva and Diaz set the bar for those like Javon who one day aspire to compete in main event fights.
Looking at UFC like it's a good breadwinner for them. I mean, Javon and Ashley have just turned pro. They've had a hell of a semi-professional career. So I'm really stoked and excited for their pro debuts.
Most people on the MMA scene don't even know I work during the day. They just think I train most of the time. 10 fights, making sure they're all wins, and then I'll be knocking on the door of the UFC.
With only 6 weeks until his professional debut, don't be surprised to see the name and fights of Javon Morrison beamed across the world. Gorana Yelavina, Quays News.
So, what do you think of her?
She did all right, didn't she? But maybe not world champion. I'm not sure what Ronda Rousey would have to say about it.
Definitely.
Okay, well, in the last 2 years, food banks supported over 900,000 people in the UK. Over a third were children. It's feared that food banks could go from being a temporary solution and becoming a permanent fixture of British culture.
Siobhan Maguire has found that despite what people may think, it's not just those on benefits who make use of the service. Take a look at this.
Dawn is a mother of 3 children. When her financial situation changed, she had to turn to her local food bank for help.
We have struggled up until we got the food parcels, which have been a really great help. Basically what it was, benefits had been stopped as I had a new partner moving into my property, and only been left with child benefit to last us the week, basically.
And it's not just families who use the service. 25-year-old Jim found himself in need of a food parcel when bills started to pile up.
I had to use the food bank. I was living with my mother, but my mother moved out. When she moved out, I got loads of extra costs like rent and the gas and electric and just all your sort of basic stuff. So I was just a bit sort of tight for money. I wouldn't have really been able to afford to eat properly for the 2 weeks that Pete helped me with the food.
Food banks rely on donations from the public and local businesses. Pete Phillips manages Manchester Food Bank UK, based in Earlham, Salford.
What you'll find is that it tends to be people in work that have had a sudden financial change, so it could be they're on long-term sick and the payments have suddenly dropped, or their car is broke, or the fridge has blew up, or something, they've had to pay out a bulk of money. Your car payments, you've still got to pay your mortgage, your rent, everything like that, you've still got to keep up with.
A food parcel contains tinned foods and basics like pasta, sauces and even tea bags. Vitally, they contain sustainable foods which healthy meals can be made from.
It can last like near enough a full week. The stuff you get cereals and milk and bread and stuff.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to eat properly. I would have had some food, but I would have been missing a lot of food. I would have been eating sort of basic meals that aren't really very good.
Food banks are helping to make small changes to the bigger hardships people face today. However, if poverty problems continue in the UK, this service is likely to become something of a permanent feature to everyday life.
Now Andy is with us to talk to us about the recent release of Michael Mann's Black Hat. So, what did you think?
Now, before I start, I should say that Michael Mann has directed some great films over the years, but Black Hat is not one of them. The film lacks in plot, it lacks in character development, and it is just, to put it lightly, it's an abomination on film. It's that bad.
You're not exactly going to sugarcoat this, are you? But are there any positives at all? Actor performance or anything?
The supporting cast is quite strong. Viola Davis was in there. She won. She was nominated for an Oscar for The Help, and Chris Hemsworth, he delivers a good leading man performance. However, I just can't see this film doing anything. It's already been released in America, and that shows you how bad it is. It hasn't done well. It came over here late, so I hope for more.
Well, hopefully in terms of the director, it's just a hiccup and he'll be back to his best next film. Ryan Gerard is here with your Friday First weekend forecast.
As February draws to a close, the weather is turning rather wet and windy over the coming days. Temperatures will be milder this Saturday of around 8 degrees Celsius, with lots of cloud and rain throughout. As we approach Sunday the 1st of March, we will see some slightly colder yet brighter conditions. However, it will still remain blustery with some wintry showers. Strong northwesterly winds will be persistent of 22 to 24 miles per hour before calming down and heading towards the west later on in the afternoon. That's all from me today. Ryan Gerard with your local weather. Have a nice weekend.
The biggest night in UK music went live to the nation on Wednesday night and saw the return of much-loved Anton Deck as host of the Brits after a 14-year break. Our big question today is, did Madonna's fall overshadow the Brits?
I don't think it did. Well, actually, no, it definitely did. She's the queen of pop. I mean,
yes.
It was the last thing that happened on the night. She fell down 3 stairs and it looked pretty painful.
It did. It overshadowed everything. I mean, I didn't even know who'd won the awards after hearing it. I just heard about Madonna's fall.
I agree with you, but it's through no fault of her own, really. I mean, people fall over every day. She got up. For me, the biggest part of that night was Royal Blood beating One Direction, to an award. That doesn't happen every day. People fall over every day. Come on.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Beth? She's queen of pop.
Yeah, she is the queen of pop. I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't have got back up again. I would have just been like, no. But she did really well.
Poor woman needs a new hip, I think.
Ever the professional, though, isn't she? Nice one. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. Quays is back on Tuesday, and we'll be here at the same time again next week.
To play us out today is Gemma Riley with her track Invincible. Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Summertime and everything feels just right. Not a cloud in that crystal blue, blue sky. So hold on tight, don't let it go. I think I'm falling for you, you know. We can swim the ocean, climb every mountain. We can, I could do it all again. It's not logical, I know, but we're invincible. I grew up wondering what it felt like to be loved. Never thought at 19 I could feel so much. So I let down my guard, the walls fell down. I'm smiling now, 'cause you're around. We can swim the ocean, climb every mountain. We can, I could do it all again. It's not logical, I know, but we're invincible. road gets bumpy, we'll cover the cracks. But through it all, one promise I will call. Just catch me when, or if I fall, we can swim the ocean, climb every mountain. We can, I could do it all again. It's not logical, I know, but we're invincible.